So, welcome to the top 8 at GP Strasbourg 2014. We have here the first quarterfinal we're going to show you is Daan Pruijt against Martin Juza. Quarterfinals, we have Daan on the left, Martin on the right. Martin, of course, a Platinum Pro. Daan just barely making the top 8 in that last round. We'll do a last fix of the table. Daan, being fourth after the Swiss round, is playing first. Starts off with the planes.
Yeah, we just saw Martin Juza draft his deck. It is a red-blue, pretty aggressive deck. He's planning to curve out. He's also splashing green for a couple Morse mostly, an Ice Feather Aven in particular.
But no third land for Daan, who he is on white-red. Has Hordling Outburst, Trumpet Blast, Crater's Claws, but no third land still. At least he can kill the Jeskai Wind Scout.
Yep. It keeps Daan in the game, such that if Daan draws land on the next turn, he can come back, and he does. So we will have a game. He can play Hordling Outburst now, maybe set up a trade for the Morph. Basically, when you're this far behind on mana, what Daan may need to do is to play defensively at first, because he almost certainly has more spells in hand than Martin. So if you can go to a long game, then you are having the advantage.
Yep, there's the Morph for Daan. Martin has the fifth land and now attacks, and these are the spots where Daan cannot block at all.
No, this Morph could be anything from a Snowhorn Rider to maybe a Glacial Stalker. You just don't want to block here.
Yeah, there's a Summit Prowler for Martin after hitting for 2. And now Daan hit his black mana, so he is on Mardu, has a Hate Blade. He'd actually play a Hordling Outburst and a Mardu Hate Blade in one turn here.
That seems good.
Or he could bring low, also another option. He could also Salt Road Patrol. He could feed a resistance if he decides to attack and gets blocked. Loads of options for Daan.
It's a lot of options indeed. The advantage of playing the Bring Low, probably on the Summit Prowler, is that Daan can attack for 2 damage. Might be relevant. The benefit of making the Salt Road Patrol is that he can start blocking the Summit Prowler and save the Bring Low for maybe a more important creature. Or the Hordling Outburst plus Mardu Hate Blade play. Well, that sets him up to get a bunch of creatures on the board. Maybe chum block the Summit Prowler with one of the 1/1s, and then have Mardu Hate Blade up for the next turn. The problem is that he is kind of short on mana, so keeping up a black mana for the Mardu Hate Blade to give it Death Touch doesn't really is not really what you want to do, and so that leaves the Bring Low versus Salt Road Patrol. And because Daan would prefer to keep the Bring Low for a more important threat, the Salt Road Patrol also holds off the Summit Prowler. So this line makes sense.
Yeah, there's an attack with the Morph from Martin Juza. Daan is doesn't really want to block because there's the threat of the Snowhorn Rider, of course.
Or Willy Loxodon, or whatever it could be.
But now Martin, I think, will be able to trigger Raid. I thought I saw a card with Raid in his hand. I think it was Mardu War Shrieker. Yeah, there it is. So he gets 3 mana, adds a 4th land, and plays a wetland sandbar. So not using his Black Lotus to full effect.
Not the most impressive or usual follow-up to a Mardu War Shrieker. But hey, it adds another body to the board.
He does have an Icy Blast in his hand. So that means that with Martin, Juza adds enough power to the board, Daan might be in trouble.
Yeah, the nice thing is that Daan has Hordling Outburst plus Trumpet Blast as a late game plan. That's quite a powerful combo. In one turn you can suddenly turn all of your 1/1 guys into 3/1s and either line up favorable trades or deal a lot of damage to Martin. But that is kind of a long-term plan. First, Daan needs to try to contain this zoo of creatures on Martin's side of the board.
It does indeed. There's an attack with the Morph. Doesn't block.
And that's the usual thing you see in this format. With 5 mana you can unmorph your creatures into all kinds of threatening things, and you generally don't want to block a morph when the opponent has 5 mana. Or if you do, then it's typically best to just line up a triple block or something like that.
Yep. And also adds the Mardu Hate Blade to the board.
Daan is coming back.
And he is coming back. He has the Trumpet Blast in his hand, so maybe just a couple more creatures and he could think about a big attack.
And suddenly Martin doesn't really have good attacks either. If he swings with either his 4-3 or the 3-3, Daan has the option of blocking with his 2-5 plus a 1-1 token. And then suddenly Daan can trade his 1-1 token for a Summit Prowler. Not really something that Martin would like to see. I think the Morph might still be able to attack on Martin's side, but Daan will just block it with the Mardu Hate Blade, give it that touch, and that's also not a great trade. Icy Blast, well, that changes things.
So he Icy Blast for 6, tapping all the creatures. So 2-turn clock for Martin Juza. He'll get to attack for
11, I believe.
Yeah, Icy Blast, tapping down 6 creatures, and since Martin does have a Summit Prowler, these creatures will not untap again, and I think just Daan has Bring Low in his hand, but nothing else. He's just dead on board.
Yeah, it looked like Daan was coming back into the game, but now all of a sudden this Icy Blast single-handedly won the game. And
that was easy.
Exactly the way Martin sculpted his deck. Lots of creatures, not that many spells, but the spells that he has allow him to break through a board stall like this one. Icy Blast doing a lot of work.
Yeah, he was very happy to have picked it up, especially because it doesn't have any barrage of boulders. So Icy Blasts are definitely nice if you can do this. Tap your whole board. You made 3 tokens? I don't care. I'll just tap him anyway. So 1-0 to Martin Juza, and then we'll have a quick look over at I believe this is Max Pruijt
against Kentaro Yamamoto. Yeah, I see the Jeskai Ascendancy and Bear's Companion on the right side of the board. Yeah, so definitely 2 cards that Kentaro drafted, and he put both of them into his deck.
He also plays a banner. I think it's an Absent banner.
I mean, you kind of have to. No, it looks like a Teamer
banner. Yeah.
You kind of have to when you have this many multicolor cards and very few lands. Wow.
He also has a Mind Swipe. A nice combination with the Jeskai Ascendancy. You can just counter your opponent's spell.
Yeah, the power level of Kantaro's deck, especially when it gets to the late game, is incredible. But of course, the main thing is, can he find the mana to play all of his cards? Well, turns out that he did, and he also contained the early aggression. So Kantaro in prime shape to close out this game, with stuff like Master the Way, as well as cards like Treasure Cruise in his deck, and of course the Jeskai Ascendancy in play. He clearly has the advantage here.
Yeah, Max Pruijt on the left is on 11 life, Kentaro Yamamoto on 18. So it looks like Kentaro is firmly on the offensive here.
Yeah, with every card that Kentaro plays, he digs 1 card deeper in his deck with Jeskai Ascendancy, pumps all of his guys. Max Pruijt is certainly not attacking him at this point. So looks like Kentaro has Max exactly in the place where he wants him to be.
So 5 mana.
So you may be thinking, well, I have this Mastered Away, if I target the Morph, what can happen? It could be a War Behemoth, the 3-6, in which case it would survive. But Max doesn't have to reveal that yet. Kentaro has to choose what to discard before Max will possibly unmorph or not. Okay, well, Mastered Away is going to resolve.
Yeah, so it's 4.
That's enough damage.
It is Kumar Bondkin.
That's a good read by Kentaro there.
Yeah, but he also pumped his creatures. I mean, he has 2 5-power creatures and a 3/3 Bear's Companion. And he also drew a card in this. Nice turn for Kentaro Yamamoto there.
Yeah, I hope that Max has an End Hostilities in hand or something like that. Otherwise, it's going to be tough for him.
Well, Martin Juza opened End Hostilities and passed it. So.
Oh, yeah. It's actually at the table. It's true.
And he has a Zergo House Smasher in his hand, I think. We've seen this combo before.
Yeah, that's just insane. Well, he doesn't have the End Hostilities.
So, yeah, the big beaters from Kentaro Yamamoto were enough, supported by Jeskai Ascendancy, of course. So Kentaro Yamamoto up a game, so the pros are looking good so far.
Yeah, the End Hostilities Zergo combo was one that was used to great effect by, I believe it was Hannes Kerem, somewhere near the end of the first day of competition. I mean, as if a sweeper wasn't powerful enough, keeping a card like Zergo in play because it's just indestructible. That's incredible.
All right, we're going to go back to the match between Daan Pruijt and Martin Juza. Martin up a game after that brutal Icy Blast, tapping down 6 creatures, and swinging for a kill in 2 turns.
Daan has to take a mulliganing down to 6 in search of a keepable hand. Well, Martin looks to be content with his opener. He has a couple of lands.
Yeah, I would say Martin has 2 mountains and a Summit Prowler, so that's a keep anytime. Looking at the way he has drafted, so.
Yep. Yeah, at the beginning of his draft, it looked like he was almost going to go mono red.
Yeah.
But I've never seen anyone actually draft a monocolor deck in this format, and of course he added a second color.
Yeah, I actually saw some people. It wasn't very good. It's usually
Really?
You can pull it off with red just because there's the depth in red commons is pretty deep. But it was a deck basically Leaping Masters, all the Valley Dashers, you know, all the Bloodfire experts, all the Bring Lows, Arrow Storms, Tormenting Voices, and you know, just all these Summit Prowlers, of course, Barrage of Boulders. Just like.
Could work.
Well, I don't think these decks are very good overall, but because you lack in card quality so much.
Yeah, it's not something you set out to draft. It's one of those things that happens once every 1,000 drafts when the packs are really strange and yeah, you can't really find the second color.
Yeah, and usually you overrate monocolored cards under the multicolored ones. Yeah, it happens. But Dan, after the mulligan, keeps the 6 and starts off with a Nomad Outpost, which is perfect in his Mardu deck.
Yep, perfect mana lined up. And he has a good mix between lands and spells.
Starts off with a Horde Ambusher, wants to be aggressive.
You could also play Tormenting Voice, but it's kind of the standard play. First add things to the board and play the card draw spell. It's kind of the last card in your hand.
He has a Bring Low as well, the Tormenting Voice and Arrow Storm, so he's just lacking in creatures here. I think there's a trade. That's a very good trade for Martin Juza. After a mulligan blocking this early, he conserves a lot of life. Now, seeing the Tormenting Voice, he has to be really happy about that.
Yeah, with Daan also being on the play, Martin is effectively up 2 cards. So it makes a lot of sense to play it a bit more defensively. If you can prolong the game until the point where your larger number of cards can take over, then you're ahead. So
agreed.
Blocking makes sense.
Yeah, I think Martin will play Morph here. The Ice Feather A1, I think. Or maybe he also has a Monastery Flock. And they should be doing really well against the Hordling Outburst that Dan is going to play on his turn.
The morph that Martin actually played was Witness of the Ages, the artifact that unmorphs into a 4/4.
There's the Hordling Outburst, so 3 1/1 Goblin tokens. Card we see frequently in Standard these days.
Oh yes, it's doing a lot of work there. Against all these decks trying to deal with your creatures via 1-for-1 removal spells, this is difficult to kill.
Alright, Simon is here. Do you have any results for us, Simon?
Yeah, a few updates. Kentaro Yamamoto is leading against Max Pritch. I think you saw that. And then we have Tamás Nad with, I think, 3 cards left in his library. His 5/5 CDs, he's not attacking anymore. He still casts a Treasure Cruise. That's some dedication. And at the last table that you're not watching, Pierre d'Argent dismantled Oleg Plesov. That was quite impressive. His opponent had a Death Touch creature, but he had the removal spell, Absent Guide, a 5/5, went the distance.
Yeah, thank you very much, Simon. Oleg Plesov actually gave Pierre d'Argent his 2nd loss in the tournament, which ensured that Oleg could draw into the top 8 and Pierre had to fight for survival. So I'm sure he wants to exact some revenge here.
Yeah, must feel good. So in the meantime, not too much has happened in this game. Martin added Scoldkin to the board, while Daan is currently thinking how to attack this game state. Attacking, well, doesn't really help him all that much, though Martin could be afraid of a Trumpet Blast and maybe take the damage or something, though unlikely. Daan just passes the turn, as it turns out.
Playing it slow. Might be a good way.
Yeah, Daan is holding, I believe, Bring Low and Feed of Resistance, so he can maneuver himself into, well, a nice position. Though Feed of Resistance, not really worth it when Martin can just respond by sacrificing Scoldkin on the card that's being targeted.
True.
I fully expect Daan to play the Bring Low this turn. That seems to be a good way to use his mana. Though, what's he going to do exactly when Martin just attacks with both creatures? Maybe play Bringlow on the morph and see what happens.
Yeah, just doesn't care. Plays the Bringlow. Now that Martin tapped out for the Summit Prowler, taking it down, and Daan can probably. And Tarkir is not that good because with morph blocks the Goblin token, you can't be playing feeder resistance because it'll only grow up to 2/2, and you can't give protection from morph. You have to say a color. So that's not the best of trades, and that's why Daan just passing the turn here. He doesn't have a creature to add to the board, just an Arrow Storm, I think. So this is a sort of a stalemate developing. So we'll use this time for Simon and his updates.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tamaj Nad, 1 card left in his library, wins the game. He could have even won in his upkeep, thanks to Archer's Parapet. It was very well played.
Okay, so Tamaj Nad up a game. So it's like all the favorites are up a game. Dajan, Yamamoto, Juza, and Nad.
Yeah, all the more experienced players.
Yeah. I think all of them have GP top 8s previously, so.
Yeah. Daan Pruijt, on the other hand, is in his first GP top 8. He's been playing for a long time and he finally broke through. Also qualifies him for the next Pro Tour, so he will be very happy with that, whether or not the outcome of this match will be in his favor. And speaking of this match, Martin has found a 5th land and now he attacks with the morph. Or maybe not. I'm sure that Daan would not be very interested in blocking the morph, especially when Martin hits his 5th land and only then starts attacking with it. But Martin is taking it slowly. Martin recognized that he has more cards, likely more spells in hand than Daan, so he just wants to play kind of a controlling game. Not go into a damage race.
Yeah, I think what Martin wanted to do was also play a morph and leave Disdainful Stroke mana up. There was the Monastery Slog. He's probably maybe scared of some bigger cards. The board as it is doesn't really, doesn't do anything.
Yep.
We also need 4 players for the last Chaos card and have the chance to win the
Dan has to be very patient here. I mean, he's already discarded land to the Tormenting Voice, but he's still drawing more land. So.
Yeah, he doesn't really have much. With Martin at 20 life, the Arrow Storm is certainly not going to close out the game anytime soon. So he might have to use Arrow Storm to clear maybe a morph or a big guy. Feed of resistance, as we mentioned, it doesn't really help in pushing the Goblin tokens past the morphs because you have to name a color. And morph, it's not a color, it's colorless. So Daan doesn't really have a good way to do anything on this board, whereas Martin, he has plenty of creatures in hand, is going to add them to the board every turn from now on, and slowly but steadily solidify his advantage. I think Martin is caught on to that Daan is sitting on air, and just sending in his creatures.
Yeah, maybe he's sitting on a kill shot or something, but on a board of 2/2 it doesn't really matter.
No. Yeah, if Daan had a kill shot, he probably would not have used it earlier because Martin still had mana up for the Skuldkin. You don't want to kill shot a Skuldkin when the opponent is mana up. But, well, if that's all that's going to happen, I mean, Martin might lose one of his morphs, but that's not the biggest of deals. This attack is fairly safe.
Yeah, it's very safe, and especially Martin can follow up with yet another morph and keep them Disdainful Stroke up, so...
That's likely going to be his plan.
And even here, he's kind of protected against some like pump spells or whatnot with the Skuldkin. You can just use the 3 mana and kill anything in response if there's something fishy going on. So I think he's in a good spot here.
And I'm not sure what Daan can do. He might do something like double block a morph, and then knowing fully well that Martin easily will have the ability to unmorph it into say a 4/4. Just hoping that Martin will play around something like a Smite the Monstrous, and then just let it go. Daan doesn't really seem to have a good way to come back into the game, so he needs to try something. I might actually do this play of double blocking a morph and hoping that Martin puts me on Smite the Monstrous and just puts his, for example, Witness of the Ages, the 4/4 morph, into the graveyard. You have to go deep, but it would probably work against a player like Martin, who tries to put his opponent on things as well.
Yeah, I like how Martin's sitting pretty. He's pretty comfortable. He has plenty of good cards, has a good board presence, so he's in no rush. And he knows that Daan is the one under pressure, having to play spells from this board position, and I'm pretty sure Martin will use it to his advantage. So I think
Daan indeed makes a play of double blocking a morph.
and Martin's like, yeah, okay, let's do it. I think it's the Witness of the Ages, doesn't flip it up.
Exactly the thing I predicted, and indeed Martin doesn't flip it up because he is afraid of all this untapped mana. He doesn't want to give Daan an opportunity to use this Smite the Monstrous and an efficient mana point and somehow gain back tempo. So some nice high level magic by both players here. Daan was effectively bluffing this card and Martin did play around it.
There's an attack with the Goblin. Daan realizing that he will not do much blocking there, so he's attacking Martin for the first points of damage. And now the question is, will he play Pony Back Brigade face down with the Feet of Resistance up, or will he try to hard cast it? And that runs into the disdainful
That
stroke
doesn't
there.
work out. No.
No.
Oh, Daan. I mean, maybe Daan could have expected the disdainful stroke because Martin has kept up 2 mana for the last couple of turns. On the other hand, yeah, maybe Martin just had a bunch of 3 cost cards in hand and didn't have anything else. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So is it now time to start playing around end hostilities? As Martin thinking about if he should add creatures to the board. He does have a Crippling Chill, a Monastery Flog, and an Ice Feather Aven. I think he's going to play the Flog. He could still follow up the end hostilities with another morph, so I think he's fine. Ankle Shanker.
It's a good card.
It's a card,
but only when you are ahead in the game, when you are the one who is attacking. If Daan just plays the Ankle Shanker here, I mean, he can put down Martin down to 16, but he's never gonna win this damage race.
Yeah, Daan is actually on 8 life. The life total has not been updated just yet. That was the attack for 6 from the 3 2-power creatures.
Then again, what else are you gonna do? Like, Ankle Shanker is the worst blocker ever. Like, it is just a 2/2 for 5 mana with no abilities. So I think Daan needs to try something. If he goes for a blocking game, well, he's not gonna win.
No.
Then again, if he just swings with Ankle Shanker and the Goblin, he's actually dead on board.
Yeah.
So maybe he needs to attack with the Ankle Shanker, keep back the Goblin, and use Feet of Resistance on it somehow.
Maybe.
Then he's actually also dead on board because Martin attacks with all of his guys, deals 6, and then sacrifices Skuldkin. So
Yeah.
not sure what Daan can realistically do to come back this game. Maybe if he has End Hostilities in his deck, which I doubt. I mean, a Hordling Outburst Trumpet Blast deck is typically not interested in running End Hostilities. But apart from that, I don't really see a way to come back.
I think Daan is going to Aerostorm here. He doesn't know which one to kill. If he wants to do anything with the Feet of Resistance, he has to probably kill the Skuldkin. But he goes for the Jeskai Wind Scout. Martin's like, sure. Oh, he probably also played land already this turn on his turn, so he can't even leave up a Feet of Resistance mana up. And Martin, actually his 2 morphs, I think both are Monastery Flogs, so you're super defensive creatures, but yeah, doing the beatdown.
It works.
Hey, Crippling Chill your guy, draw a card.
Why not?
Wait, was that another Monastery Flog? He might have put down, no, he still has the Ice Feather Aven in his hand, so I'm not sure what, another land for Daan Pruijt. So Martin Juza makes it into the semi-finals. Daan Pruijt eliminated after actually not drawing almost any creatures. I didn't quite like the Pony Back Brigade play there.
Yeah, I think he could have played around disdainful stroke.
We're the smart guys here because we've seen the cards in hand of both players, so it's easy for us to say.
Yeah, double Monastery Flock.
And the third one in his
Flock
hand.
beatdown.
Yeah, he has 3 in his main deck. It's almost like an off-color morph, but
whatever works.
Yep. All right, so the Platinum Pro gets to the semi-finals, and let's see if the other matches have advanced. I got an update just recently that Max Pritch evened out the game score between himself and Kentaro Yamamoto, so that is 1 game apiece going down the wire. And yeah, we'll just get some matches on camera now for you. As you can see, Martin explaining what happened at the table, at
Well,
the draft table.
Yeah, that makes sense, because what happened this game? Well,
Yeah.
Martin just curved out. Daan was sitting with some semi-useless pump spells, overcasted removal cards, and ankle shanker. That's the worst blocker ever.
Yep, so Max Pruijt facing off against Kentaro Yamamoto.
So we see Mardu Hateblade on Max's side of the board, and a morph on Kantaro's. Kantaro is setting up his mana quite nicely. He's playing a 4-color deck, every color except black, and he's only missing green mana so far, so that's definitely nice for the player from Japan. Max doesn't want to attack his Hateblade into the morph, even though he could give it Death Touch. He's afraid that Kentaro will actually block and force him to use the Death Touch ability, and then Max wouldn't have another good play on his turn. By just playing the morph and keeping the Hateblade back, Max develops his board and uses his mana efficiently. So High Spire Mantis for Kentaro Yamamoto. 3/3 flying, that is now the biggest creature on the board. And Max doesn't do anything, he doesn't even attack, he doesn't play anything. That is kind of suspicious indeed. Might Kentaro be afraid of a kill shot and not attack at all?
I think it's a freed weapon master. We know he has 2 in his deck at least, and a 4/3 trace favor. Well, it does well in combat against 4/3 first strike against dead touchers. So what?
No.
Okay, it's a Sage Eye Harry. All right.
Yeah,
so
Max went for the shortcut of yeah, I'm gonna block your High Spire. Oh wait, I have to unmorph
that
first.
makes the weapon master even better, and I think it's the weapon master. So that makes the High Spire Mantis a 6/3 trampling over for 1 damage, as well as 4 damage from the freed weapon master. And these are the kinds of plays that I don't think you can block here.
I mean, it is super risky, of course. You see the Jeskai colors. All of the clans in Khans of Tarkir have their own multicolor morph, and you have to be expecting Efreet Weapon Master here. Then again, maybe Max decided that he just wouldn't be able to beat that card, so he had to play as if it wouldn't be Efreet Weapon Master.
And hostilities? No, he has another Sage Eye Harrier, that's for sure. We got an update from one of the other matches. Pierre Dejean wins over Oleg Plisov. So 2 pros in the semi-finals now. Will Kentaro Yamamoto be the 3rd one to join them? There's a Rotting Mastodon from Max Pruijt and a small ping from the Mardu Hateblade.
Yeah, the Mardu Hateblade is kind of useless here at this point, because it cannot block the High Spire Mantis, and well, while it could block the Efreet Weapon Master, First Strike does beat Death Touch. Of course, the Rotting Mastodon is keeping the Efreet Weapon Master at bay, so unless Kentaro has a way to get rid of the Rotting Mastodon, he can only attack with the High Spire Mantis. Another Efreet Weapon Master in hand for Kentaro. He could play it super aggressively by indeed hardcasting it, boosting his High Spire Mantis, putting Max down to 10 life. Yeah,
That's what he does.
it's also the mana efficient play.
Yeah.
And because he has, I think, 3 spells remaining in hand, I think Kentaro is thinking, well, I can use my mana over the course of the next couple of turns. Just be efficient here. Ooh, it's actually the End Hostilities.
It is. So Max Pruijt is the one with End Hostilities.
Does he want to use it already?
Yeah, he's just
Probably.
attacking here, and Kentaro Yamamoto is like, what is going on here?
Yeah, I mean the attack with the Mardu Hateblade kind of gives it away.
Yeah. All right, so we'll have Kentaro Yamamoto thinking about this one. Simon, do you have an update for us from the matches?
Yes, the last match that was still outstanding from my point of view was Tamás Nagy against Ken van Montfort, and yeah, Tamás Nagy beat his opponent 2-0. Pretty impressive usage of resources there. Got rid of an Necropolis Fiend on the way, and yeah, all the favorites are winning.
Yeah, it looks that way. So we have Tamás Nagy, Martin Juza, and Pierre Dejean in the semis already in very quick fashion as well.
It looks like Kentaro is just maybe reading that End Hostilities is coming and going for the double block.
Yep, it blocks both. Yeah, that resolves. Remember, this is the last game of the quarterfinals, so the winner makes it into the semis. And here's the End Hostilities.
Sweeps it all.
Yeah, 3 for 3, but yeah, his creatures were thoroughly outclassed. So It was a good play from Max Pruijt. A good draw, of course. He wasn't setting it up.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, he might have gone for the greedy play of just passing the turn once more and hoping to get more value out of the end hostilities. But that's kind of dangerous if Kantaro catches onto it, doesn't add anything to the board, and deals some more damage with his High Spire Mantis.
There's an Alabaster Kieran. Kentaro still has the Jeskai Wind Scout in his hand and Bring Low. I think he's still in decent shape overall. With Max Pruijt on 10 life.
So Max has some more morphs in his hand to work with. I see Sage Eye Harrier, Kumar Bondkin. I think that's also an Alabaster Kieran. So he can make the Sage Eye Harrier here, start blocking the Kieran. When he's at 10 life, I like playing it a bit defensively. And well, the 1-5 is certainly capable of blocking the 2-3 Mind Swipe.
That's a spicy one.
Ooh la la. Yeah, so that can counter anything that Max plays, provided that Kentaro has enough mana to counter it, and also deal X damage in the process. Not bad. Kentaro can definitely attack here, there is no downside. Max will almost certainly block, but well, might as well.
It looks like Max Pruijt might have another Rotting Mastodon in his hand.
This is quite a defensive deck.
Very
a
defensive.
2-8, a 2-8, a 1-5, a 1-5. How is Max actually winning the game?
Yep.
I mean, he won one game. Watching Mastodon beatdown.
Okay, Bring Low takes care of that. Kentaro Yamamoto can actually set up his following turns very nicely. I mean, he does have the Mind Swipe, but he also has Treasure Cruise. So he can already start drawing more cards. Also making the land drops to maybe make the Mind Swipe even lethal. I would love to see that, that's for sure. But Max Pruijt goes for Alabaster Kieran and a Morph, which might be a Kumar Bondkin. I saw that one in his hand. Now Abzan Battle Priest and Jeskai Wind Scout in Kentaro Yamamoto's hands.
Oh, he could play the Treasure Cruise.
And then Wind Scout?
Well, he has, I see 4 cards in the graveyard.
Yeah.
So indeed, if he then draws a land, then he can add the Wind Scout to the board. I think I like that. Playing the Abzan Battle Priest has the advantage that he can start outlasting it immediately, but then the rest of his turn is not all that impressive. So I think I like the Treasure Cruise play here.
Passes though.
Well, apparently he wants to sit on Mind Swipe. I think using the Mind Swipe as a finisher, right? As you mentioned, play the Treasure Cruise first, drop a couple more lands, and then play it for maybe Axis 8 or something to close out the game. Is quite valuable.
But actually, there's the Rotting Mastodon nearly tapping out, so I think Kentaro Yamamoto is going to use this opportunity to Mind Swap the Mastodon. No.
I mean, it's not really the most relevant creature here. It's even blocked by the Alabaster Kieran. Kentaro is still at 17 life, so he's not under any pressure
that was
from
just a very
the elephant.
strange turn overall, though. I mean, now he's not going to play the Treasure Cruise. It looks like.
I mean, I can see not countering the Rotting Mastodon because it doesn't really do much. But if you are not planning to use the Mind Swipe aggressively, I think just indeed playing the Treasure Cruise first is more valuable.
Yep. So there's land and either Morph or a Jeskai Wind Scout, so he plays the Flyer first. He's probably really hoping to draw something like Set Adrift to get rid of the Kieran, swinging for some damage, and then hoping for Mind Swipe to finish off the game.
Sounds like a plan.
It's my kind of plan.
And does Max have any way to stop that plan? Is this a banner coming down?
It is a banner, yeah. His deck does not look very solid.
No, it just has a bunch of high toughness creatures and end hostilities, which can easily win the game if it catches the opponent off guard.
It is a plan.
But it doesn't have the late game punch that Kentaro Yamamoto is presenting. With stuff like Treasure Cruise, he also has cards like Jeskai Ascendancy, Warden of the Eye to return Treasure Cruise. He can gain a lot of value.
Yeah, Jeskai Charm as well in his deck. He could actually just finish off the opponent just by playing Jeskai Charm and Mind Swipe.
It's kind of similar to what the Jeskai deck in Standard is doing.
Yeah. Burn you out.
Yeah.
So there's the banner, the Mardu one. Let's see if he can follow that up. I mean, now he has 5 mana to unmorph the Kumar Bondkin.
Yeah, attacking with everything makes sense. Obviously the ground creatures are not going to block, so you might as well send them into the red zone. I think Max will be happy with any block that Kentaro is going to make.
Thinking about double blocking here. Not sure about that.
Well, Kentaro can take this game into two different directions. Either play a controlling game, which means trading off and then maybe gaining an advantage with the absent Battle Priest in his hand, or try to go for a damage race and finish off Max. In the first case, he might want to double block the morph. In the second case, he just wants to block with the Alabaster Kirin and say, that's it, take some damage.
So.
And now he's taking 7.
Yeah, the Kirin blocks the Mastodon, but now he's going to take 7 down to 10. So actually this game could become quite tense, but we know Kentaro has a lot of cards in his hand, so if he can follow it up here with something good.
Yeah, if he has a way to take out the Alabaster Kirin, if only for a turn with, for example, the Set Adrift, then afterwards he can counter it with Mind Swipe when it comes down, and that should be enough to win the game.
Ooh, we drew a Jeskai Ascendancy.
Well, that means if the game goes long, he will be able to win just off of card quality advantage alone.
Interesting.
Also, Dragon Eye Servants, that's also huge because it can block the Kumar Bondkin. 06,
yeah.
It's the perfect size.
Kentaro can play both Ascendancy and the Dragon's Eye Savants.
I like playing Ascendancy and then attacking with both creatures. Max might be a bit afraid to block because Kentaro could follow it up with another card and then pump his guys. At worst, Max would block the Jeskai Wind Scout, but it has already grown to a 3-2 because the Jeskai Ascendancy triggered prowess. So they would trade. Max would fall down to 8 from the Alabaster Kirin, and Kentaro can play the Dragon Eye Savants after that to start blocking the 5-3.
Yeah, Kentaro has to be careful. The last card in Max Pritch's hand is a Throttle, so he has to be careful about playing recklessly here. So he's going to start off with the Ascendancy, it looks like.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Get that card on the table. Get this fun started.
Triggers prowess. Plays another land. And swings with both his fires.
So playing the land pre-combat to kind of bluff or give an indication that he's going to cast a 5-mana card. I'm not really sure which one he is representing here, but at least he's forcing his opponent to think about that. I think Kentaro just has Mind Swipe, Dragon Eye Savants, and the Absent Battle Priest in hand, plus a land. So if Max blocks the Jeskai Wind Scout, they're going to trade. But Max doesn't know what Kentaro has in hand. Max will be afraid of another instant speed cards, in which case blocking will mean that he's essentially jump blocking.
Yeah, Max knows this is not an easy decision. Yes, he knows he has the Throttle in his hand, so think like I could potentially take the Wind Scout here, throttle the Kirin, attack. Tough spot for both players. Kentaro Yamamoto could easily lose this.
I think if I'm Max, I would probably still make the block here. Just try to hope that Kentaro doesn't have a non-creature card that he can play at this point. Because looking at the game state, I feel like if Kentaro has a non-creature card that he can play, he gets to trigger the Jeskai Ascendancy. It doesn't look like Max will be in very good shape.
Yeah.
Though if Kentaro has to tap out that way, Max gets in for a ton of damage. So
yeah, exactly. I think I would block just the Alabaster Kirin, not knowing. I mean, it would put my own Alabaster Kirin at risk, but it would mean that Kentaro has to play a spell instead of a creature. You know, invest maybe like mana into playing something this turn to get the trigger of the Jeskai Ascendancy, but not into the board, and hoping maybe my Kumar Bondkin and the Throttle in my hand could do some big damage on the following turn.
Yeah, and if Kentaro really has nothing, if Kentaro is on air, then you want to be blocking just the Kirin now, not the Wind Scout, such that the Kirin is back on the next turn to hold off both the Jeskai Wind Scout and the Alabaster Kirin. And indeed, Max probably for that reason, largely is going to block the Alabaster Kirin.
Yeah, he also has to play around Aerostorm. You know, if he doesn't block,
I like this
Aerostorm
play.
would finish him off. So, yep, that's the 3 damage. I think that's also correct, even ignoring the cards in the hand. So, and now 4 mana. Kintaro just plays the Absent Battle Priest. Okay. Threatening maybe to just trade with the straight up trade with the Kumar Bondkin. But Max Pritch does not draw a spell. He has the Throttle in his hand, but drew a land. So maybe he could sacrifice the Mardu Banner to draw 1 more card and then play the Throttle.
That makes a lot of sense.
That's what it would have made the play of just hard casting Dragon's Eye Savants maybe that much better, because he could have then mind swiped it for 1, the Throttle for 1,
wow.
and untap his Wind Scout.
Yeah, but I don't think Kantaro knew what was coming. But yeah, if Kantaro knew that Max was also going to play Throttle, maybe Kantaro would have been more interested in playing the 06.
Sure.
Because even if Max throttles that one, it can still block for a turn. So Max, well, he needs to be careful. If he attacks with everything, he might actually die on a swing back. Though with Throttle, that seems unlikely. He probably wants to Throttle the Absent Battle Priest first and then attacks with everything.
Throttles the Alabaster Kirin. Wants to gain air dominance, it seems. But attacking with everything, I mean, he still gets to keep the Alabaster Kirin on defense if Kintaro would be getting crazy, but...
I'm not sure how much I like the Throttle on the Kirin rather than the Battle Priest. Because now you give Kintaro the opportunity of trading here, and I don't love this position that Max is currently in.
Kintaro draws the Set Adrift.
Okay.
Is he going off? So he can play the Set Adrift, use Jeskai Ascendancy, make the Jeskai Wind Scout a 4-power flyer, and loot as well. I quite like that. He still has the Dragon Eye Savants in his hand.
Yep. Maybe he wants to unmorph play the Dragon Eye Savant and unmorph it first. No, he wants to keep up Mind Swipe.
I think he just wants to play Set Adrift for 3 mana here.
Yes,
keep up Mind Swipe for the kill.
Yes.
Yeah, he reads the again. It's like, is this doing what I think it's doing?
It should work.
Yep. Yes. Set Adrift on the Alabaster Kirin. Triggers Jeskai Ascendancy. Also draws into a Mystic of the Hidden Way.
Yeah, now Max is gonna fall down to 3 life after the attack, which means that any spell that he plays, even if Max has enough mana to pay for the Mind Swipe, he's just gonna lose to the damage ability.
Yep.
And I don't think that there's anything Max can do about that. Kintaro is thinking, like, what can my opponent have here? Not much, I don't think.
Yep. There's an attack for 4, Max Pritch down to 3, and with 3 mana open, Kintaro Yamamoto can... the judge is just making sure that everything was played correctly.
Yeah, I believe it was.
Yeah,
there were 3 cards in the graveyard, and he paid 3 mana for the Set Adrift, so everything is in good order.
I like it. Kintaro just the 3rd time just does this 3 damage? Even if he pays, like, is this what I think it's doing? And so here comes the Alabaster Kirin, and that should end game with a nice Mind Swipe, something we wouldn't have expected. Kintaro down to 4. He would die to an Aerostorm, but Mind Swipe for 3.
Deal 3 damage to you.
That's the game. Yeah, Kintaro Yamamoto makes it to the semi-finals. Well played from Max Pritch, the only quarterfinals player who lost winning a game. All the other matches finished 2-0. So
yeah, all the favorites won.
Yeah, all the favorites won. Yeah, we saw. We didn't see, but we heard Pierre Dargent defeated Oleg Plaisto 2-0. We just saw Kintaro Yamamoto defeat Max Pritch 2-1. But then both Martin Juza and Tamás Nagy defeated their opponents 2-0 as well. So that means Daan Pruijt and Kees van Montfort eliminated the Dutchies out in the quarterfinals.
Yeah. So taking a look at the bracket for the semifinals, Martin is going to face up against Tamás Nagy. So they will have to battle it out, which means that Kentaro Yamamoto will be paired against Pierre Dajan. So those are the matches we can look forward to in, well, the semifinals.
Yeah, I mean,
3 matches remaining and we will know the winner.
The players need to take a small break, but after a very, very short bathroom break, we'll get them in the feature match area, get them set up, prepare the cameras, and we'll be back for the semis. So don't go anywhere, we'll be back shortly. Aha.
Well, and you think we're
Never
going to a
mind.
video? No, our director has run off manning the cameras. We're a bit short-handed here.
All
so
right.
let's just chat about the tournament.
Okay, let's
for a
put it
while.
this way. We heard that Tamás Nagy has an incredible Sultai deck. We heard DC, Treasure Cruise, other fancy stuff. So I think he might be decently positioned against Martin Juza, who does have a pretty good deck, but is not that aggressive. So I think that's going to be an interesting matchup for sure. We saw Kentaro Yamamoto with his mainly Jeskai, but in general 4-color deck.
Yeah, it was interesting to see how he had a completely different approach to the format than Martin Juza. Like Martin Juza was really like focusing on these 2-color decks, consistent mana, having a mana curve, and just limiting the amount of colors and lands that you have to play. Kentaro Yamamoto, we have some Jeskai cards. Here's a sweet Temur card. Put that in as well. And well, it has worked out for him as well. So that's what I really like about this format. You can have all these different approaches, and all of them can work if you know how to draft them.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I also want to see what Pierre Dajan is up to. He won 2-0. We barely know what's in his deck. He crushed Oleg Pliso in 2 games to 0. So I wonder if he has something spicy up his sleeve. He told me he's not happy with the way he's been drafting. Going into the final draft, but I mean he's in the top 8.
Yeah.
I mean other players are not, so I mean he must be doing something right. And we saw he had some pretty good decks, and my favorite one was he had a 5-color deck, plenty of non-basic lands, and managing to play Abzan Guide, Mantis Rider, and Butcher of the Horde. Almost in consecutive turns. It was really fun to see. So.
Classic Pierre Dajan.
Yeah, typical of him. He is the greedy type sometimes.
And again, that's what I mean with everything can work in this format. As long as you, I guess, adjust how highly you take the lands. That might be a big part of how many colors you can draft.
Yep. I mean, we've talked about with Simon especially. I mean, we managed to find some truth of the format, something that we both agreed on about that we kind of think where we want to be and what we want to be doing. And so if you were looking forward to going to drafting Khans of Tarkir, first point of advice, don't just automatically assume going into 5-color before the draft is going to work.
No, that's just way too risky. Yeah. I mean, if you don't get the lands, then your draft is a train wreck and you're going to go 1-2 or 0-3. If you get the lands early on, then it's perfectly fine. Or like if you straddle a bit and pick cards in different colors early on, it's a good fallback combination. But don't go into the draft with the intention of going 5 colors, because it's the easiest strategy that can go wrong. And
I mean, a lot can go wrong, but you can also manage to do something to improve your chances. But simply by going 5-color doesn't mean that you have to play all 5 colors of mana evenly, or play double-colored mana cost of several colors. Just not how it works. Usually 5-color decks are still a core of 2, at maximum 3 colors, and then you splash a couple cards of the 4th and 5th color, ideally morphs, that you can play on turn 3, so that even if you're lacking the color, you can still do something with your cards. And this is very important.
Yeah, and speaking of all these mana bases, maybe some guidelines that I tend to use. If you have like a main color where you have some 2-drops as well, I like to have like 8 sources of that color. So there might be like 8 basics, or maybe like 6 basics and 2 dual lands of that color. If I have some double casting cost cards, stuff like Summit Prowler, 9 or 10 maybe, you do want to be able to get 2 of those lands. And if you're splashing, like maybe splashing 2 morphs, 2-3 sources might be okay. If you're splashing 1 or 2 colored spells as well that don't have morph, maybe go for like 4 or 5 sources. Those are good guidelines to move to.
Yeah, and I mean, it's easy to make the mana work if you rate the lands highly. We talked with Simon about it, and with you as well.